As you know, we look now, it feels like we've all been in this space for 7, 8 years, and you've sort of experienced a lot of iterations. It feels to me, at least, that right now things are moving incredibly fast. Like there's unbelievable progress in market infrastructure for Bitcoin, regulatory treatments, a lot clearer, and around the world sort of supported. The pace is there. Beyond the sort of global macro environment, the sort of that part of the thesis, which is obviously very, very supportive of Bitcoin. What do you believe the biggest drivers are in the next, year, 2 years?
I don't know that I have one for the next year or two, but I'll tell you something that my team is paying a lot of attention to. Again, I think in the near term, this idea of thinking about Bitcoin as a store of value is probably in the near term the killer use case for Bitcoin. We all know and believe Bitcoin can have all kinds of other use cases as time goes on, and maybe it develops other killer use cases, maybe it doesn't. But certainly one audience that is very crucial to this is the younger audience of investors. Over about the next 25 years or so, I think it's almost 70 trillion is going to pass over to younger generations, and from boomers and down to millennials and Gen Z, et cetera. And when you think about the way assets that are currently postured today and how they're going to get postured as they get passed down to that younger generation, we're definitely not saying that all of that money is going into crypto, but we'd be hard pressed to believe that crypto does not somehow become the beneficiary of this great generational wealth transfer.
Totally.
So we're already starting to see that, but that's one thing we're definitely paying attention to.
My son is in that group. He's 20. And he started to hold investments in 2013 when he was young. And I mean, when you see something like that happen, like his conviction is like, of course, where I'm going to invest in crypto.
Right. I mean, it's the generation.
Why would I buy Tesla when I can?
Right. It's the generation raised on Venmo and Tesla and Gmail, and it's just apples and oranges, and maybe things like gold and other things just will not ever resonate with that younger audience of investors.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, what are you seeing beyond the global macro piece here, as like with the kind of acceleration in the space? What do you see as drivers?
Yeah, so the global macro story is so unprecedented and compelling. It's easy to focus on that. But the fundamental story for blockchain, as you know well at Circle and USDC, it's happening.
Yeah.
When your bank is physically closed because of the pandemic or the other types of payment services you're used to, you need a natively digital thing to get done what you're trying to do. USDC volumes have tripled over the last few months. We track a index of other portfolio companies like Circle that we're invested in, and it's up 120% since the pandemic started. Actual transactions using mainly Bitcoin, but sometimes other cryptocurrencies, to do something, move money back home to the Philippines, or whatever the use case is people can't get things done. We're invested in a company called CoinMe that has physical kiosks in Safeways, right? And if you Google Bitcoin near me, it's going to pop up 25 different Safeways or Kroger's or whatever in your neighborhood, and those are essential businesses. They're open. You can go in, you can feed $300 into the machine, and it pops out in Manila, right? Like that is why Bitcoin's working. And then the other thing, and you're talking about catalysts, is the three of us have been dealing with regulators for 8 years. We were so positive on the industry. I'll admit, I had no idea the OCC was going to approve Bitcoin as a custodial asset for nationally chartered banks this quickly. That stuff's great, right?
I don't even know most people know what the OCC even is before that announcement.
Yeah, but they will when they walk into their bank branch and there's a sign, do you want to buy Bitcoin or store Bitcoin here? I mean, to me, things like that are really showing that it's not kind of a fringe little
it's
I mean, this is pretty legit nationally chartered banks storing your Bitcoin for you.
Yeah. There's the sort of classic Jeffrey Moore crossing the chasm there's always been, I was giving speeches in 2014 about when's the mainstream moment for all this sort of stuff, and what are all the things that have to happen: regulatory, market infrastructure, usability, scalability, all this kind of stuff. And the early adopter to mainstream phase, that chasm, like we're kind of like, we are like leaping over it as we speak, and those curves that you see, the good news is that the part before the chasm is typically, like 20% of the market. And then, the remaining 80% of the market comes in, over an extended period of time. So it does feel like usage and awareness and all these things are very much there. And that is absolutely outside of just this global macro context. So it's a great perspective on that.